Hello. Tonight we'll drift away from the present, letting the noise of the modern world slip quietly into the background. As the light fades, allow yourself to step into a different time, a slower time. Our journey will take us to the distant north, to a small Viking farm nestled in a snowy valley, somewhere in what we now call Norway. Around the year 850 AD, no kings, no wars, no long ships cutting across stormy seas. Just a quiet family surviving the seasons. The year is measured not in hours or days, but in the tasks demanded by the earth and sky. The soil hardens, softens, sprouts, and sleeps. The animals grow and breed. The people work and wait. It's a life of rhythm, of repetition, simple but enduring hardship, and subtle joys. Tonight, we'll follow one full year on this little farm. We'll wake up with the frost still in the air. We'll mend fences, milk goats, carry water from the frozen stream. We'll sow barley, raise piglets, scrape candle wax from the table. We'll huddle by the hearth through winter and breathe the heavy green air of summer. We'll see the turning of the seasons and the lives that bend with them. So find a comfortable position. Close your eyes if you'd like. Take a slow breath, and let's begin. Imagine this. You wake in a long house made of timber and turf. The roof above you is low, blackened with soot. The faint scent of wood smoke and wool clings to everything. The beds, the walls, the hair of the person beside you. It's still dark, even though it's morning. The sun won't rise for hours yet. Outside, the snow rests heavy on the roof. And when the wind picks up, as it often does, it whistles through the cracks in the wood like a distant voice. You rise from the sleeping bench slowly. The sheepskin is stiff with cold. Your boots, left too close to the wall, are half frozen. You stamp your feet a few times and pull your tunic tighter. The fire in the center of the room has burned low overnight. A single log glows red beneath a pile of ash. You nudge it with the poker, blowing gently. Eventually, a soft flame returns. Not enough for warmth, but enough for comfort. The others begin to stir. Your father already coughing. Your mother rubbing her wrists. The baby fusses in its blanket, and a little girl. Maybe your sister sneezes 4 times in a row, then falls silent again. No one speaks much this early in winter. There's no glass on the windows, just wooden shutters. They stay shut unless the smoke grows too thick. The air is heavy, but it's survivable. Breakfast is a thick, sour porridge made with dried grains and goat's milk. Someone pours a ladle into a wooden bowl and hands it to you without looking. You chew slowly. It's not pleasant, but it's warm. Outside, the world is silent. White, stiff, and still. You help your father crack the ice on the trough for the animals. The water beneath is dark and frigid, and your fingers sting despite the mittens. The sheep huddled together in a corner of their pen, steam rising from their backs like ghosts. They stare at you blankly. The chickens are barely laying, but you check the coop anyway. One small cold egg. You tuck it in your tunic. There are logs to split. You carry them in bundles to the house, stacking them neatly near the hearth. The axe handle is slick and hard. The sound of splitting wood echoes off the frozen trees. Inside, your mother rewinds yarn onto spindles. Her fingers move mechanically, muscle memory guiding the motion. She doesn't need to look. Someone is mending a boot. Someone else is scraping a frozen pelt. The baby plays with a piece of carved antler, cooing occasionally. The candle drips wax on the table. A neighbor visits in the afternoon, bringing dried fish wrapped in bark. He trades for honey. No one lingers outside. The cold is too bitter for small talk. By evening, the fire is stronger. The stew smells of dried onions and salted meat. Everyone eats in silence. Your eyes feel heavy. The longhouse flickers with amber shadows. Winter doesn't ask much of you, only that you endure it. Days pass like this. Feed the animals. Mend what's broken. Cut more wood. Stay quiet. Don't let the cold inside your bones. When the sun returns, weak and uncertain, the snow starts to soften. It drips from the roof in slow, deliberate drops. Patches of brown earth peek through the white. One day, just after the last frost, you hear a bird call. Not the croak of the raven, but something lighter. Promise. The year is changing, and so we move forward. From winter to spring. From stillness to movement. The snow is melting now. Not all at once. It's a slow, reluctant retreat. The world doesn't spring awake. It sighs, stretches, and yawns under the first gentle heat. The days are still cool, especially in the mornings, but the air has changed. You can smell it. Wet bark, thawing earth, the faint sweetness of moss. Outside the longhouse, mud forms in patches where boots slip. A trickle of water runs through the yard, born of snowmelt. The chickens are restless. They peck at the soft ground, squawking over hidden bugs and roots. The goats bleat more often, eager to roam beyond their small pen. Inside, the longhouse feels different, brighter. The fire isn't needed as often. Smoke no longer clings to your every breath. And it is here in this quiet shift that we begin to notice someone whose work rarely pauses, no matter the season. She rises before dawn, just as the sky begins to gray. Her name doesn't survive in the sagas. Most women's names don't, but you can imagine one. Something simple and strong like Astrid or Yrsa. She tightens her belt around a heavy wool dress and pulls her hair into a braided knot. No time for finery. Today, as every day, there is work. The loom awaits her first. She checks the warp threads for tension, running her fingers along the wood. The wool has been cleaned, carded, spun into yarn, mostly by her now. It's ready to be woven into a new tunic for her son, who has nearly outgrown the last. As her shuttle slides back and forth, the rhythm of her day begins. Steady and focused. The woven cloth will take days, maybe weeks, but she works in pieces, a little at a time, between other duties. There is bread to make, flat, coarse loaves cooked on a hot stone near the hearth. She grinds the grain herself with a hand quern, circling her arms slowly, like water turning a wheel. She stirs curds into fresh cheese, checks the mead sealed in clay pots, gathers what greens she can from the edges of the woods. Wild garlic, tender shoots, bitter herbs. When her daughter falls and skins a knee, she wraps the wound in linen and hums a low song. Later, she scrapes beeswax into a pot to make new candles, careful not to waste a crumb. Nothing is wasted. She scolds a boy for tracking mud into the sleeping area, then kneels beside him to clean it. There is no pride in the task. It's only necessity. When the day slows, she joins the others outside. The sun is warm on her shoulders. Someone begins to tell a story. Not a grand saga of gods or kings, but a smaller tale. About a neighbor's cow giving birth in a ditch. Or how a spoon went missing and was found under the pigsty. She smiles. That evening, when the house is quiet, she hums again, the same tune from before, and presses the baby to her chest. The candle flickers beside her face. Her hands, dry and calloused, cradle the child with gentleness. She won't sleep much. She never does. This is the life of a Viking woman. It is not defined by conquest or politics. It doesn't echo in stone or sagas. But it is here, in the weaving, the healing, the baking, the quiet endurance, that a culture sustains itself. She doesn't ask for glory. She asks for strength, for her family to survive the winter, for the harvest to come. And when spring begins to fade into summer, and the days stretch long and golden, she will still be there, grinding, stirring, weaving, and humming that same song. Now, as the crops begin to rise and the livestock graze farther afield, we shift our gaze from the farmhouse, to a mystery buried deep in the soil, where traces of Viking life lie hidden beneath centuries of moss and stone. The field is quiet now. A patch of soft green rises gently near the edge of a forest where the earth seems to breathe a little differently. There are no stones, no ruins, no signs of life, only the whisper of wind through grass and the occasional caw of a distant bird. But beneath this calm surface lies a story. Not one passed through sagas or songs. This is a story pieced together from soil and shadow, from fragments, stains, and silent impressions that time nearly erased. This is the slow uncovering of a Viking life. Begins, as many discoveries do, by accident. A farmer's plow catches something in the earth, not a stone. It makes the wrong sound. A dull thud, a shiver in the handle. When he clears the dirt, it's a rusted blade. Not sharp, not whole, just a piece. But archaeologists are called in. They arrive with canvas bags, brushes, and notebooks. They mark off the field in squares. The soil is sifted gently, layer by layer. Each detail is logged. The color of the sediment, the shape of the pit, the angle of every object. Soon they find more. A bone comb, a bead of blue glass, fragment of antler with faint carved lines. Perhaps once a tool handle or a child's toy. Damn, deeper still, they find the remains of a longhouse. The wooden posts are gone, but the dark stains in the earth remain, each marking where timber once stood. You can almost trace the walls now. A doorway here, a hearth in the center, sleeping benches along the sides. The house was small. Perhaps only one family lived there, but their echoes are everywhere. From the soil, stories emerge. Spindle whorl used to spin wool. Tells of women's labor by the firelight. An iron axe head, worn and blunt, reveals the shape of a man's hand. Animal bones, split and scorched, show what they ate. Cattle, sheep, fish, the occasional seal. There are no riches here. No gold, no silver. But there is something more precious. Continuity. The quiet repetition of days. The team finds fragments of pottery, coarse utilitarian. One bears a thumbprint pressed into the clay before firing, a moment frozen in time, a breath of someone long gone. Near the edge of the site, a tiny iron key is uncovered. It once fit a small chest, perhaps used to hold herbs, or coins, or letters. The lock is lost, but the key remains, a symbol of ownership, of something valued and protected. Sometimes, not far from homes like this, a runestone stands, tall and narrow, carved with curling script. The runes do not always tell grand tales. Some mark a grave, others simply say, Thorvald raised this stone for his brother, who sailed west and did not return, or in memory of Freya, beloved mother. Simple, sincere. Occasionally, archaeologists uncover a piece of wood or bone carved with runes, inscriptions meant not for public display but private moments, spells, wishes, warnings. One such fragment reads, I carve protection for my child. A quiet prayer pressed into wood hidden in a wall. Just beyond the longhouse site, a mound rises. It is not large, but deliberate. The burial was careful. Stones placed with symmetry. Charcoal scattered in specific patterns.
I didn't sigh.
The body was laid with items, not for wealth, but for memory. A small knife, a wooden bowl, a single bead on a string. The Vikings believed the dead journeyed onward. It's not always to Valhalla. That was for the warriors. Others might go to hell or to a peaceful hall by the sea. Beliefs varied, like the weather. But the dead were not discarded, they were prepared. Their spirits were honored with offerings, with earth, with flame. Even in modest graves the care is visible, and those mounds remain. Gentle scars on the land, washed by lichen and wind. What do we know of them? Not everything, but we know enough. Enough to sense their rhythm, their struggles, their quiet pride. We know they rose with the sun and slept when it set. That they built with hands rough from labor. That they told stories by firelight, carved prayers into wood, and pressed thumbprints into clay. We know they left marks, not always grand, but meaningful. And today, in fields like this, their traces wait quietly. It's just below the surface. Silent, patient, undisturbed, until someone notices something. Just a little out of place. And then, once again, their story begins to rise. Next, we'll turn our gaze from these modest lives and dig sights to the lives of those with power, the jarls, the seers, the warriors whose world was filled with ceremony and expectation. The wind howls differently at the top. In the same northern lands where farmers till rocky soil and children huddle under firs, another world exists, not far away, but elevated. The longhouse is larger, its roof higher, the walls are carved, and the voices inside do not speak of hunger or broken tools. They speak of tribute, alliances, gods, and storms. This is the world of the Jarl, a leader, a landholder, a protector, and a judge. He does not plow the fields, but his world is built atop those who do. Let us step quietly into his winter hall. Imagine yourself walking through the snow. Thick flakes fall in spirals as the wind pushes against your cloak. Ahead, a great structure rises. Long and low, with a wide doorway flanked by wooden carvings. Mythical beasts, not work faces with blank, watchful eyes. Smoke drifts from a central vent in the roof. You step inside, the heat strikes you first, then the smell of meat and ash. So Jarl's Hall is a world unto itself. At its center burns a long fire fed by logs as thick as a man's leg. Around it, warriors sit, some sharpening blades, others murmuring tales of distant raids. Shields hang on the walls. Furs line the benches. At the far end of the hall, on a raised wooden platform, sits the Jarl. He is not a king. Not quite. But in this valley, in this ford, his word is law. the Jarl wears no crown. Instead, his power is marked in gestures, the respect in a bow, the silence when he speaks, the place where his cup is placed first in the feasting circle. Land boundaries, stolen goats, broken oaths, leads offerings to the gods, standing beside the priest, the Gothi, during the winter sacrifice held in the dead of the season. In those dark nights, the Jarl's responsibility is not only to protect his people from enemies, but from despair. He must inspire, command, give shape to the rhythm of the winter. Twice in the long dark, the hall fills with voices. These are the winter feasts, gatherings where bonds are renewed and memory is honored. Tables are brought in, roasted lamb, stewed barley, honeyed mead passed from hand to hand. The Jarl speaks first, a toast to Odin, to Thor, to Freyr, to the ancestors. The room grows warm with laughter, even as the frost creeps across the windows. Skald, the court poet, stands and recites a tale. He sailed through storm and arrow. With no fear and no food, the gods watched, and he smiled. These tales, whether true or shaped by pride, bind the warriors to their lord. To be remembered in a poem is as close to eternity as many might hope for. Outside the feast and ritual, the Jarl's other life awaits. Command his warband is loyal. It's not for coin, but for honor. Many are herdmen, handpicked fighters who serve the Jarl closely, fight beside him, and die for him if need be. They train even in the snow, sword drills in the courtyard, shield walls tested against blunt strikes. Not every Jarl seeks conquest, but every Jarl prepares. When spring returns, he may lead them to gather tribute from neighboring villages, or to sail west, toward lands spoken of in whispers. But in the heart of winter, they stay close, guarding the hall, guarding the Jarl, waiting. Beside the Jarl, often seated one level below him, sits his wife. Not merely a companion. She is called the Fru, lady of the house. She holds the keys, quite literally, to the storerooms, the cellars, the valuables. She oversees the servants, the brewing, the distribution of gifts. In her hands lies the household's stability. If the Jarl dies, it is she who must protect the legacy until a son is ready, or, in rare cases, lead in his place, especially in Iceland, where women occasionally held unusual power. She weaves not only cloth but alliances, arranging marriages, smoothing tensions, welcoming emissaries with grace. Her silence is not absence, it is control, folded gently, as winter deepens, the hall dims. The fire must be fed more often, snow piles against the outer walls. Wolves grow bold in the forests. News from other Jarls arrives slowly, brought by messengers wrapped in layers of fur. Inside, life continues, slowly, carefully. The Jarl listens to the rumors, he watches his men, he plans the next thing, the next voyage, the next judgment. Not even he cannot stop the winter, so he endures it, as his ancestors did, with fire, with stillness. And now, as we leave the high seat of the Jarl and the warmth of his hall, our journey begins to slow. In our final moments together, we'll return to where we began, to the quiet rhythms of the land, and to a soft reflection on what life and death meant in a time when winter shaped every soul. The fire is low now, not the roaring hearth of the Jarl's hall, not the crackling hearthstone of a farmer's home, but a quiet flame, like the one that flickers inside your thoughts as you rest. drifting further into stillness. We've journeyed far tonight, through snow-covered fields and candlelit rituals. We've heard the whisper of prayer and the chant of the skald. We've watched a farmer's hands rough with frost and traced the silent steps of the dead through a burial in ice. This was a year on a Viking farm, and it passed, as all years do, with the rhythm of necessity. The seasons moved slowly, but always forward. The work never ended, but was never rushed. The world was dangerous, but never abandoned. And in that quiet struggle there was something deeply human, something familiar, even now. A love for the land, however harsh, a reverence for ancestors, however distant, a hope that spring would come again, no matter how long the dark. Let your thoughts wander now. You may find yourself once more in the barn, hearing the soft exhale of cows warm against the hay, or standing at the edge of the fjord, watching the gray sea swallow the moonlight, or inside the longhouse, your eyes growing heavy with the soft repetition of stories passed down through generations. There is no need to hold on. The past will remain, the rhythm continues, and for now, there is only stillness. Thank you for spending this time in the Viking world. Sleep well, traveler. May your dreams be gentle, and your spirit find peace till the spring returns.